Well, folks, welcome to the Go for Diamond call this evening. The topic of this evening, as you can see on the screen here, is inviting. And inviting, what's very important in the inviting process is listening and the sharing process. Today is it is February 18th, so we want to thank you for joining in this evening. Wanted to remind you that there is some events going on across the nation, across Canada and the U.S. And if you are interested in posting your events, feel free to go to activeteam.com. And from there, simply post your event on the calendar. And if you have any questions, do feel free to contact me. You can contact me at activeteam@me.com or info at activeteam.com. I'm trying to say that 3 times in a row. And at that point, I can certainly help you out. Now, the point of this call this evening is it's a follow-up on the previous call that we did last week. Which we started with the prospecting aspect, and Tammy and I covered that in detail. So feel free to go back to this recorded call. It is posted for you to be able to revisit that, to have the understanding of how do we begin a conversation. And from there, as you follow up, which we'll cover next week, right now we're covering on the invitation process. Some of the good practices or best practices in inviting people to come to a presentation, to try a product, to come to an in-home, even to begin the opportunity, to select a package or whatever the situation is inviting process is absolutely critical. And what's very important here is that you understand that there's two aspects. You can invite to become an associate, or you can invite for them to become a customer in a goal, and hopefully that they want to become an associate. And if not, that's totally fine. I got my customers, Tammy got her customers, many of you have your customers, and they're great. For consumption, and it's a good residual aspect of the business. So in moving forward,
and also great for referrals. I always leverage customers when people are not quite ready to get started, because I wanted to share that since he's talking about it. And with the goal in mind to move them to the next exposure, because everything's about an exposure. Even if they're a customer of yours, they're an exposure to the next step. They may or may not be open for business, but if they like you, then they'll refer people to you. So always keep that in mind. But if we look at the prospecting paradigm, have to understand that the key is patience with people. People are, everybody is different. Some are ready and excited today because the timing works for them. Some people, the timing's way off. Some people need a little bit more information. Some people got to get a feel for the product. So as you can see, the prospecting part, it's a journey of getting people into the business. So it's to be patient and understand that, and it's all about building those personal relationships. It's the relationships that are going to drive the process in this business model. Okay.
Now, before we continue to the next slide, I think it's important to understand that there is a distinctive difference in the way you invite. For example, are you inviting people to try a product, or are you inviting people to an opportunity? And both are good. It really depends what your goals are. And I certainly don't want to force things upon you, but I know that many of you are looking for an opportunity financially. How can I add another stream of income so I can live a better quality of life due to the environment of today, which is very much gauged by the income that you earn on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis. So the fact is that if you are looking forward to driving income, you have to shift the inviting process in towards the opportunity and defaulting to the product. Mm-hmm. And this is how we get our customers. I do get customers, but you see, I default to customers. And that's the difference between the big income earners and the folks that are just maybe having enough money to buy their products. And if this is what you're looking for, this is totally cool, and this is good. This is why I don't want to force anything upon you. I want to make sure that you're clear on your efforts, on what you want to reach based on your goals. And the fact here is I find that often, Dami and I have worked this business for a long time. We've trained people for a long time. And often people will take a presentation and they will change the presentation to fit the profile that they want to present because they feel that this is the way it should be done. But unfortunately, it's gearing towards building a customer base. And that becomes a challenge. And this is the reason why Tammy has created tools that if it is not modified and kept as is, you will get results. And the reason why we know you will get results is because we've been doing this for 12 years with Max. And this presentation has probably been pretty consistent for at least the past, since 2015, I would say. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So, you know, we're falling on 5 years now. And in 4 years, I think many of you have seen what's been going on in West Africa, even the Philippines. You know, there's been a lot of growth everywhere. And it's okay to make some changes, but what's important is that the changes are consistent across the board. If it is not, and you do an in-home, let's say, and your slide's a little bit different, and it's geared towards building credibility around the doctors and the customers, well, unfortunately, what you will get is customers and not so much the opportunity side. So it's just, again, food for thought is as you invite the people into the business, are you inviting for the opportunity or are you inviting just for the product? And again, and that's what we will cover here. And then you can make the decision as we go through the process of doing this particular training. So the point you can see on the bottom here says personal relationship drive the process. And this is what it's all about. People want and like to do business with people they know, they like, and trust. And that will come in time as you keep maintaining a relationship, which I know Tammy does a lot as she builds her business, and many of you do.
Yeah, I've been on fire a lot lately. But you know what? That's what you have to do to build this business, is just to get out there and not worry about what people say. You have to understand that people are looking. Whether you go up to them with an opportunity or somebody goes up with them with an opportunity, whatever they're being shared, and if they're open, they're going to look. So might as well be you. That's the way I look at it. And people are suffering silently, and they're searching. People are searching. So don't make any assumptions that somebody's happy because they seem to have a good career, but you really don't know until you start talking to people and understanding their needs. And I'm telling you, people are always looking, okay, over and above the product. And it's critical to ask questions. So how many contacts do you make on a daily basis? Are you setting goals every single day? It's critical, because if you don't, the day's going to go by, a few days are going to go by, a week's going to go by, and it's, oops, I didn't do any calls this week. Oh, life got in the way again. You can't build a business this way. We were talking today, Christy and I, about the importance of scheduling. If we don't sit down and schedule our day, and I'm sure you have the same thing, a whole bunch of time is going to slip through your hands, because it happens. It's called life. So it's critical, whatever hours you're going to put into your Max business, that those hours that you're putting need to be scheduled, and you need to set goals for those hours. And the most important thing is how many people are you going to talk to, because this business is about people. It's about getting people to evaluate the opportunity, getting people to watch videos. This is the greatest qualifying that I love to do in building this business. And then the follow-up and all of that, which we're going to talk about. But it's critical to connect with people and invite, and keep inviting until finally they say yes over time.
And I really believe that every single person understanding what it is we have will want to either become an associate or get on the product. Mm-hmm. Think about it, folks, considering the level of toxicity we are facing every single day. And the fact is, many folks have really no idea. Still today, they really don't realize. They rely on their doctors and whatever they will prescribe when it's too late, when something's happening and now they have to deal with the consequences of whatever inflammation they're dealing with. And the fact is, knowing this, who in their right mind wouldn't want to protect themselves? Now think about it. I don't like to use this example, but it's the first one I have in mind. If you happen to be going to war and you are butt naked, I mean, there's no way for you to survive. You need to protect yourself, right? You need to have shielding. You need to protect yourself. You wouldn't just go in the field and walk right through. You wouldn't do 10 steps. And this is the environment we live in with the toxicity level we're facing. And as much as we're trying to eat clean, and as much as we're trying to eat without the pesticides and the GMO and on and on and on, I don't want to get into all the details here, you just can't avoid it. It's just the environment that we live in today. Otherwise, you know, you just don't eat, you don't drink, you don't breathe. Obviously, that's another problem. So knowing this, who in their right mind wouldn't want to have something that can give them an advantage? And this will come out through your skills and your aptitudes and your trainings on inviting, on connecting with people. So inviting is key for your business. What stops you from inviting? Knowing what I just told you, what stops you from inviting? And knowing that we have a solution to a common problem, do you realize the income potential? It's massive. And this is what you want to relay to your prospect as you are doing the invitation process, can even begin on the prospecting process. So ask yourself the question, what stops you from inviting? Because often, if you understand clearly what this is and what this can do, inviting should become almost a second nature if you're a human being to another human being wanting to help. And I truly believe, you know, everybody generally want to help someone. It's just their nature. Often if they don't, it's out of fear, it's out of whatever. But the fact here is, what stops you from inviting?
I'd like to stay on that slide for a second because that's critical. Often, you know, Chris and I do a lot of mentoring. We talk to a lot of people on a daily basis. And, you know, the root cause of a lot of this, people always tell us timing, you know, is finding the time. And again, it goes back to scheduling and doing the right activities with the time that you're going to put into this business. When you master that, you'll notice that you'll have time to do this. Another one is they don't have a lot of people to talk to. Well, social media is a great platform. But over and above that, I was talking with one of the associates today, and she wanted me to jot down some point forms because I was just sharing some stuff with her. And she was like, oh my gosh, if you would just write those down, I'd say that easily. So I'll take some time to write these things down. But the point was, I was sharing with her, you know, everywhere you go, people leave their business cards in restaurants, in spas. You see them at the cleaners. I'm trying to think of all the places that I literally picked up business cards. And to contact people. There's no excuse that there's nobody to talk to. Really, there isn't. Not in today's world. Okay? And another one is the fact that they're afraid to talk to people. And as I always say, if you don't make it about yourself and you make it about the mission and about serving, then the fear goes away when you want to help other people. So think about that every time you don't do what you have to do on a daily basis on the inviting process. So let's talk about prioritizing your list, because that's critical. Your time is so valuable. And I know most of you are building this business on a part-time basis. So the very few hours that you have in building your business, you want to make sure that you're smart with the time that you're building this business, which means it's important to take the time to organize yourself and prioritize some of the stuff that you're doing in your business, and timing yourself in your calls and stuff. So prioritizing your list, we've already talked about the list in the past, but you know, who are you talking to? Really, what are you chasing out there? Because, you know, if it's not working, you need to ask yourself the quality of the people that you're talking to in this business. Because if you want to get better contacts, sometimes you need to work on better posturing and focus on the needs of others, and start thinking of this business more like a serious business than a hobby. I don't know how you're thinking when you're creating all of this and who you're talking to, but it's something to think about. Because Chris and I, when we go out and look for people, we don't look for everybody. We look for specific people who have a great posture, who look the part of somebody who wants to do business, who speaks well. We're specific in the people that we're prospecting, and we look for people that are generally healthy, because they're the ones that take care of themselves more than anybody. Is the people who are health conscious, people who are in the gyms, people who are competitive. Look for people out there, have experience in network marketing. And, they've had some basic trainings. They've been passionate at one point about the profession. Okay, so who are you talking to? And are you prioritizing the time that you're spending with the people that you have on your list? And of course, you want to have your top 10. Who would you love the most to partner with?
So here's the approach that you have to, we recommend for you to keep in mind. As you are approaching people, as you are sharing, build on the relationship. Just recently, Tammy and I had a really nice massage, right? That you got us a really nice gift over and above the things that I've done. And it
was a great day.
Yeah, and it was a really nice massage. And I met this lady, and there was a lot of information on the relationship at the beginning. Of course, there might have been a bit of a talk, and what do you do? Well, I'm in the wellness industry, and the fact is, less is more. I didn't get into a lot of details. I didn't explain the glutathione. That came after. Once I realized the interest was there, and she was really big into holistic healing and all of this stuff. So obviously for her, she was very open to natural remedies, supplements, things like that. So the fact is, as I discovered, I was listening more than talking. And she did most of the talking, as a matter of fact. But the fact that I was listening, paying attention, commenting, and that was building the relationship and the trust. So this is the point that less is more, right? And then use the tool. Because in the process of the invitation, I simply say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you 2 videos. We talk about this all the time. I'll send you a video that gives you a bit of the science information. Sometimes I say 3. And I'll send you the 2-minute video on the CellGVD, the product we were talking about. A little TV commercial. It's a nice little video. It's professional. It's well done. And then I'll send you another one called Why Trade Time for Money. So the product I'm talking about, the science, the video, and the Why Trade Time for Money. Because again, when I speak to a prospect, I want to help. If they're all they want to hear about the product, it's going to be a quick conversation. I'll put them as a customer, and that's it. That's all. I'm not going to start driving an hour and meet this person. I'm not into the convincing business. I'm in business to educate the people that are open and that are ready to listen. Now, of course, it might be a process, and I understand that we have each different cases and scenarios, and you have to use your common sense and all that. But the general point here is build on the relationship first. Less is more is do more of the listening, share a little bit of tidbits of information that you feel could be relevant to that person based on the conversation you're having. And if you need to get into more details because you're kind of better in explaining certain of the science, feel free to do that. Just remember that you want to maintain a certain level of duplication because that person might be evaluating, can I do what you just did? But sometimes, depending on the kind of folks you're talking to, sometimes they might be a little bit more profound on the science. And if you can match that, good for you. Again, remember, we attract like. If you're a person who might be a bit more technical and sciencey, you're probably going to be attracting these kind of folks, right? So again, we stay within the realm. We tend to be within the realm, but then again, that could be different. But the last point is the objections, the feel, fail, found, which is critical. I remember in my humble beginnings, I've done so many trainings on objections because that's all I was getting. You know, the objections on the opportunity. I don't believe in this kind of business. I don't believe in these products. They're too expensive. Blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. Blah, blah, blah. And everything can easily be kind of, I wouldn't say deviated, but explained if you understand how they feel. Especially the fact that you used to feel the same way. And maybe you still do. But here's what I found. Right? An example is, I know how you feel about supplements. I used to feel the same way. But when I found what was going on in our environment, the level of toxicity we're involved in today, the GMO, all of this stuff was not there when we grew up. Now it is, and our children are exposed to that. You know, in the 80s, 1 out of 1,000 newborn would be diagnosed as autistic. Now it's close to 1 out of 20, and it's getting more. They're predicting in 2020 it's going to be 1 out of 4. I mean, if this is not alarming, what will alarm you? I mean, this is serious. This is what I found, and because of that, I felt today it's not a luxury to be on supplements. It's a necessity. Let me tell you why. Right? Do you see my, so that here is, I went through the objections on a person who doesn't believe in supplements. It's an opportunity for education. Right? And then from there, let them talk. So as they're talking, you are listening, and that's what's really, really, really critical for you to follow through on the inviting process.
All right, so the rules for inviting is don't get attached to the outcome. So many people get attached, and that's why they step back. Don't create any attachment to it. Always set intentions. It's always good to set intentions. I set my weekly goals, my intentions, and I set my daily intention goals, and then I go out and do what I need to do. But I don't get attached to people's objections and the challenges that are going on. You know, if the timing's not working for them, next, I move on. Next, I move on. Next, I move on. You're looking for people who are looking today. Okay, and if it's not for today, then you put them on the list where you're going to follow up with them down the road. Okay, and get on the call. Or if you're out meeting people, go out and meet more people. Don't get stuck on that outcome because it'll ruin you. It'll ruin the day. It'll ruin your opportunity, the little bit of time that you have to build your business. So if you're busy, you don't think about it. So get busy. Focus on the education and understanding where people are at. Okay? And then move them to the next step. And get off the phone or leave if you're in front of them. Get that next appointment or put them later on in the calendar for a month to follow up, 2 months, whatever, 3 months. Be yourself through the process. You know, a lot of people get caught up and they don't know what to do and they're not themselves and it's awkward. So just let it flow. Don't worry about what to say. People are always so worried. What do I say? What do I say? Don't worry about what to say. Just be in the moment and connect with the person. It's so easy. People are so open to share. They love talking about themselves. They're so open to share. If you're open to listen and guide them and move them to a solution, okay? Share your enthusiasm. You got to have enthusiasm. You got to be passionate about what we have as an opportunity or the product. You got to be passionate about it. If you're not passionate, then you won't be, contagious. And I find this is the attraction that I get to me is I just often get people eating out of the palm of my hands because I'm so passionate about what we have and they know that I know that I know that I know, if you know what I mean. And when people see that, they just want more. So you move them to the next step. Okay, if you're too laid back, often people are going to walk away. So strong and confident too. You got to be confident because there's always going to be other products out there, I'm telling you. There's always going to be other products. There's always other opportunities. You need to be strong and confident, and you need to have a solid belief in being part of our mission with Max, okay? And that is what people are going to buy into. Invite and talk to everybody. don't disqualify anybody, because you never know where they're at. Of course, when Chris and I are out there looking for people, we're looking for specific people. But I mean, when you have a bunch of business cards that you just grab from everywhere, or you got some person's information in a magazine or something, I mean, obviously you're talking to everybody because you don't know who they are. So it's qualifying them.
So the inviting process in contacting people, you know, number one, we say here, be in a hurry. Again, use your common sense here. You have to use your common sense compass. What we mean by that is you don't want to get into a whole bunch of information where on the invitation process, you're going from the first slide to the last slide of the presentation. You may not realize that, but you're covering every single aspect, and it's too much. Right? And often when you do that, people turn around and says, well, you know what, I don't think I'm interested, because they haven't seen enough. They're not in the right context, right? In 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even 15 minutes, when you're sharing with folks, if you give too much, they're going to think with their limited understanding of what it is you have that they get it all because they know what it is. I don't want anything more. That's it, I'm done. And that's why we say be in a hurry, is that you kind of want to not get too, especially if you're new in this kind of business, right? If you're more kind of seasoned in it, you can change the topic a little bit and talk about something different. So you're not talking the entire time with the person about the opportunity and the invitation process. That's the meaning of be in a hurry, okay? And number two is the compliment. This is key. You know, often people do great jobs, they do great work, and they're proud of their work, but nobody tells them they're doing well. Or nobody tells them, and again, I understand that sometimes you have to be careful, right? If you're talking to the opposite sex, you know, we're living in an environment today where it's an issue, right? And the moment you turn around and you comment something on their appearance, right away it's seen as, well, maybe he's trying to hit on me. So I get all that. You have to use your common sense, right? But give a compliment that the person can relate to. It's something that it's clear and it's obvious. And to give you an example is, you know, as I'm talking, go back to this lady who was actually doing the massage, and you know, she was very patient. She was also she could really determine the areas that needed to be worked on. And I commented and complimented, says, you know, I really appreciate the work you're doing here. I said, thank you very much. And right away, that has immediately, again, build up on the relationship, right? In the goal to, you know, maybe do business, right? And then make the invitation from there, right? Another thing is that you can compliment that I mentioned is, you know, you seem to really know your way around, you know, your well-being and staying fit and being fit. And the person says, well, absolutely. And so right away you acknowledge that, compliment on her, and then make the invitation. Love to invite you so my wife and I can actually share with you what this is all about. I say, I'd love to meet you guys and talk about this, right? Now, on the invitation, she has a really big need on the opportunity. She needs money. It's a big thing. She's doing 3 jobs, and she's looking and trying to get rid of one of those jobs. And it's right in line with what she does. So she thought, okay, that would be something that might interest me. She's very busy, so I need to follow up with her. Because if I don't, she probably will not call back because she's constantly working, right? So make the invitation using their needs. So the invitation was to that person's, you know what, I really think we can probably help you with the financial aspect. Maybe we can get rid of that extra job, right? And then following through, so if I send you those videos, would you look at them? Of course, she was absolutely. Okay, now get a commitment, right? Get a time commitment. Okay, so why don't I follow up with you tomorrow at the exact same time or the time that you feel appropriate? Yeah, sure, no problem. I will write this down, and as soon as you're done, we'll write this on an agenda, and then from there confirm the time. I'll call you at exactly 7 p.m. or whatever the time is appropriate with the person, right? And then from there you schedule the next contact, right? And then you finish the conversation. It doesn't mean that you need to walk away from the person. Just change the subject. Talk about something else. or just get into the, again, stay within the wellness process, but don't stay too much. Otherwise, it feels like you're pushing it on them and you're giving too much information. So in closing, what Tammy and I recommend is activities, right? And this is just an example here that you see before you on the screen, but you know, call your upline leader, call someone in your downline, and practice with each other, right? If you don't have anybody to practice with right now, then look at your dog if you have pets or cat, right? They love when you stare at them and talk to them. Trust me, they'll be listening. They'll be standing there and watching, listening. And then for you, it's another living thing that's actually paying attention to the things you're saying, and just kind of practice the process of the invitation process. Or one of the things is in front of a mirror. I know it may sound silly, but I'm telling you, it really does work. Practice the invitation process in the aspect in front of a mirror.
So I'm sure you already have some prospects that are sitting there, and you haven't made that invitation or done that follow-up. Maybe you've done initial invitation and you haven't done that follow-up, because I know that that is such a fear for so many people. And like I said, you know, to break that fear, make it about their needs, make it about them, helping them, serving, helping people. So calling your best 5 people and do this tomorrow. Put that on your agenda. Put that in your schedule that you're going to call 5 people and do an invitation to whether you're going to meet them one-on-one, whether there's an in-home going on or a hotel meeting coming up. Always know what's coming up for to do an invitation. The key is to be in a hurry. Don't get into chit-chat, because they're going to start asking you questions, and sometimes, you know, they'll talk themselves out of it based on, you know, just inexperience, and that happens too. So you want to make sure that you get the commitment, right? You want to make sure you compliment people if you're in front of people. Make an invitation using their need. If I would you. And then get a time commitment, confirm the follow-up time. That's critical, and schedule the next contact and finish the conversation. So you want to be doing this on a regular basis, whether you're in front of people or you're on the phone. You want to be doing this all the time.
So, folks, that concludes our presentation this evening. And then the following week we'll be talking on following up. This is absolutely critical. Remember, 90%, or I should say 95% of your business will actually come through the follow-up process. So, folks, have yourself a wonderful, wonderful evening. We look forward to hear you again on the call. And the call is recorded. It will be posted on the Active Team website under the video section under Go for Diamond Calls. Okay, have yourself a wonderful evening, and bye for now.
Have a good night, everybody.